welcome to another episode of Rebel City Podcast. This week's guest is Mandy Rose Jones. Mandy is the figurehead for the Empowered Women Project, which is an online social media platform and blog, amongst other things, that gives women a platform and promotes really just sort of positivity. I mean, it doesn't really necessarily need to be for just women. I follow and subscribe to the feeds, and everything that comes out is just really positive. Mandy's also a content creator for the BBC Social. You might have seen the BBC Social video that I did on porn addiction that was facilitated with Mandy. And I've also done a podcast that's yet to be released for the BBC Sounds with Mandy. So Mandy does a lot of work and works really, really hard to help sort of spread a positive message. In this podcast, we cover Mandy's mental health, a lot of stuff around sort of how things can be positive and negative. Mandy's an ex-female bodybuilder, and we talk about how that impacted her mental health while she was doing that, and how, obviously one of the first things that people say if somebody's suffering is you need to exercise and you need to get your diet in check. But we talk about how that can become obsessive and actually become negative. We talk about I don't even know how you say the guy's name, is Ade A-Game, who has just recently been convicted of sexual harassment, I believe was the outcome of his case. But basically, Ade had a YouTube channel that gave advice, air quotes, to men on how to pick up women. And if anybody had the opportunity to see his platform before it got deleted, basically what he was doing was secretly filming women and harassing them. And I mean, it's quite sickening stuff. There's a lot of good stuff on the BBC about this type of thing. I believe there was a Panorama episode around it as well. And Mandy was involved in the protest that led to Ade being investigated and eventually convicted. So we cover that. A great episode. I hope you enjoy it. Mandy's a fantastic woman. And I suppose the next week we've got Katie Johnson, who is a presenter for Capital Radio, but there seems to be a wee theme of positive women on the podcast for the next couple of weeks. But hopefully you enjoy. Again, sit back, relax, and here's Mandy. I made a promise to not to you, so stop the party.
This. Can you hear me all right?
Yes, all good.
Yes.
So, and welcome to another episode of Rebel City Podcast. This week's guest is Mandy Rose Jones. How's it going, Mandy?
I'm good.
We're like old friends now.
I know.
All
I feel like we keep running into each other and talking about porn. I was gonna say, but yeah, porn, sex, stripping, whatever. Yeah.
Sick of talking about fucking porn.
I feel like I'm here meeting the other woman. So
Charmed feels like as well.
And how are you guys?
Messaging you?
All good.
All good. Just number 2 of the day. Good getting a couple of podcasts in. Working hard.
A couple of coffees as well. I'm absolutely rattling. You called it like 45 minutes ago, but I didn't listen.
So you've got the Empowered Women Project, and so how did that come about? So just tell us a wee bit about it.
So the Empowered Women Project is, at the core of it, it's a blog. It started because my mental health deteriorated really swiftly, kind of over the course of a year after my husband left me, and I was involved in a fire, and there was all sorts of stuff happened. Mental health deteriorated over the course of about a year, ended up in a psychiatric ward after a suicide attempt, and I didn't have anything to do with my days. They were kind of like, you're going to be here and this is you and whatever. So yeah. I quite like, I'm quite creative. And so I had my laptop. I had basically nothing else, but I had my laptop. And so I just started writing about my experiences, about what life might look like if I got to a better place, about my mental health and the journey I'd been on. I just kind of shared my truth in a way that I hadn't ever done before. And at the start, there was about 10 people looking at it from like, I don't know, Istanbul or something like that.
Right.
And then as time went on and I continued, I kind of grew and grew and grew. And now I'm just kind of along for the ride, but it's been an amazing journey.
And they say that, you know, creative processes are, you know, usually pretty important to recovery. So I think it's amazing that you've found like a creative outlet, what sounds quite fairly early in the process. You know what I mean? What?
It's absolutely become a therapy, and I didn't realise it at first. I was just doing something to occupy my time, but as it kind of grew and grew, I realised there must have been a need for it because people were kind of latching onto it. People were wanting to contribute, either anonymously or put their name to it, and we were being asked to go and do workshops and talks and whatever. And I just think we'd reached a point, especially with social media, where nobody was being fucking honest. I don't know if I can swear on here. Nobody was being honest.
We're going to need to get that like printed up on a bit of paper that we just hang above the door. Says, you can swear.
You can swear. Oh, perfect. Fuck. So yeah, I think we'd reached this point with social media, and I was guilty of it myself when I was married, of sort of painting this perfect picture of I'm in amazing shape, I've got a perfect marriage, I've got a great job, like look at my hair extensions, I don't know, just this perfect life, which wasn't true. No. And having sort of spoken to people from that time in my life, people just assumed that was my truth. Do you know what I mean? And so I think it's important for people to just come out and say, actually, where there is good, there's also bad times, and that's okay.
Definitely.
I think in like a time of the men's mental health pandemic, it almost feels like the sort of, as we move into the sort of information age and we do a lot more sort of talking and sharing, that women have kind of been left in the behind on this, but they are the prime examples of
like many things in life, you only really get movement when it's white men that actually experience it.
Aye, definitely.
But what's been interesting is a lot of guys have kind of connected with the project as well. So although I set it up as a woman and kind of for women and with women in mind, men, even friends of my brothers, you know, the kind of tallest, most muscular men have kind of messaged me privately and wouldn't do it publicly, but I've said, listen, thank you, I really appreciate the blog, I read it, I engage with it, and so, you know, it's not, mental health isn't exclusive to any gender, any sexuality, and I think we need to remember that, and I'm glad that conversations are happening sort of across the board.
It's kind of flip side to what we've seen for the guys at Brothers in Arms, where they say like brothers need a sister, and I think that's what you're talking about, is kind of the flip side of that, and maybe the conclusion is that we just all need each other.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And I think there's something to be said about communities, especially online, and building these communities and these safe places. The amount of people that message me, and like I say, it's not just me that kind of manages the project now, there's a whole host of people that contribute and share and whatever. The amount of people that message me and say that that's just their wee safe space on the internet, where they might just cuddle up in bed and read and kind of engage and feel a release from all the stuff that's edited and manufactured and all the rest of it. I think it's
something that I like about the way that our internet usage or our social media usage is changing is that, like you say, there has been a lot of negativity surrounding it over sort of many years, and what we get time and time again when we talk to guests is that idea of community. And I think to an extent people feel as though that the internet's been used to like separate us from our communities, but what I like is that there are now people who are weaponising social media and the internet to create these online communities and actually repurpose people and give them something to actually like contribute to.
Absolutely. I think the only issue with it that I've found is it's a massive responsibility. So now I would say that like, I think I just have to get better at delegating. Now on the Facebook, we've got 15,000 followers. We've got like 8,000 on the Instagram and thousands elsewhere. And it's a lot on me kind of emotionally sometimes to manage, because you can't pour from an empty cup,
of
right?
Course.
So it's like a lot of these people rely on the project for a lot, and sometimes I'm not great either. I'm still kind of getting better, and I have there's ebbs and flows with that. And I was saying to Paul the last time we met that my mental health was so gradually getting better last year that it was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I feel invincible. Medication's working, therapy's working. I was just taking on the world. And then in probably March, I've basically lost March till now this year because I've just been stuck in a kind of a difficult place. And people don't see that stuff, so people still think you're this invincible, take on the world, whatever, and you know, it's
I think
hard.
that's something we've come across with quite a number of guests. I mean, we've spoke to a lot of folk who have taken on like community mental health groups, community health groups, you know, any number of things like, and what you don't account for is that personal toll that because you've made yourself the face of this, or that you're the voice of this in some cases, that people are then going to put a level of responsibility on you for their own self-care in it. So it is a quite weird balancing act where you don't want to be seen to be going against what you're, not practicing what you preach, but at the same time, you have to look out for you as well. You know what I mean? It can be
Absolutely.
quite a hard balance sometimes.
And I think, Paul, you've probably found this as well with your sharing of your porn addiction and things as well. You've got to just learn to sort of create your own boundaries. It's been hard for me, like, to say
Oh,
no,
yeah.
because I just want to try and be there for everyone all the time. But it's not, A, it's not possible.
Yeah.
B, I'm not qualified. And C, I don't have a C, but yeah, you know what I mean? It's just about like creating those personal barriers and going, actually, I'm not available 24 hours a day, and actually, I'm not now going to share my dating life with the world, and actually, I'm going to speak to my actual friends offline,
Yeah.
sort of thing. Like, there's
More is
certain
less,
things.
or less is more, yeah.
Absolutely.
I think as well, like, when we were, no, it went. I had it,
You
I had it and it went.
You had an idea when you went.
I never had it, so
I
yeah.
can completely relate to, like, I think that when we first started doing this and when we first started getting traction, we were getting quite a lot of sort of contact. I was getting quite a lot of contact with people, and like you said, like, you need to establish that you're not like going to fix them. Like, you got a lot of people that are thinking,
so.
I've got the same.
I've got my point back now.
I've got a similar sort of experience, like, and they don't just want to share it. Like, I'm open for people coming in and just telling me, "Oh, that this has been really good," and I've listened to that. But they want your time, they want your energy, and they want you to go, right, this is exactly what I'm going through right now. How would you fix that?
Here's a
Yeah.
10-point plan.
And I found it really draining. I mean, I've just took to just ignoring it, just to the most part.
So my point that I was going to jump on before I lost my thread was not qualified.
Yeah.
And as well-intentioned as a lot of people are, like, I'm finding that as people become more conscious of their mental health as well as a society, like, a lot of people are taking, their experience as a means to then go out and, like, preach to people or whatever. And I think, like, that's where the not qualified element has to be, like, really careful, because I would never want to, like, volunteer, like, off the cuff thing to somebody and then find out that it caused them harm or whatever it is.
Massively.
I think there's a line that people need to understand, that as much as we want to promote better mental health and better physical and all these other things, like, you get in touch with us, we can put you in touch with somebody. You know what I mean? But we can't, answer these questions for you. A lot of the time it's a big burden. And I can get what you say in that respect. It can be quite a daunting prospect when you're actually just like, I'm just trying to be me.
Yeah, and I think for a while it was actually damaging my mental health, because somebody would message, and this was last year, I was in a really good place. People would message the project and say, I feel a bit suicidal. I'd phone them and I'd be on the phone for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
And then I realised, like, actually that's really impacting me and it's triggering for me.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh, I don't matter. I'm better now. I've got this thing. Actually, it does matter. And my mental health does matter. So now I just do a lot of what you said. I signpost, and there's some amazing charities. There's an amazing charity called Chris's House who've helped me out of some pretty bad places.
Yep. Know them well.
And it's just about learning who those people are, where you can turn to at any time of the night. Do you know what I mean? So, but it's not us, but we can certainly provide the numbers for these places. We can certainly provide, I don't know, other people's stories that you can read and feel validated by.
Absolutely.
But it's about like learning like what we can and can't
where the
offer.
boundaries are.
Yeah, and this year's been massive for that. I talk about last year like it was yesterday, because like I say, this year's just gone for me. It's crazy.
I know the
So
feeling.
with the build up, so the Empowered Women project sounds like it's been like a really sort of powerful tool to help you get out of like a sort of dark place.
Yeah.
And the build up to like getting yourself or being in that place, was it just loads of like wee things in life that were like building up on top of you, or was there like overarching sort of like huge moments and that ended up sort of like pushing you over the edge?
Leading up to like my suicide attempt, you mean? Yeah, it was a lot of like little things. Obviously, in March 2017, I was involved in a serious fire. My pets died in the fire, lost everything in the fire. Husband left me, and I was left homeless temporarily. And that's when I was like living out of hostels, went back to working as a stripper. and all the rest of it. And fast forward from there to the following March, I've just kind of been I've been managing this really, really horrible, tricky personal life, but still trying to make sure that my social media was never let the mask slip. So still just posting the selfies and the life's great, and that every time I bought something with some money I had from the strip club, I'd make sure that everyone saw I was doing well and I was materialistically kind of thing and whatever. And then, I just cracked, I just broke. I just thought I've been carrying so much just on myself, and but if anyone had said to me, you need to go and see somebody, you need to talk to somebody, I don't know, I just for a long time thought I was better than that, and I'm not ashamed to say that now, because eventually it led to me getting the help I needed and whatever. But I was kind of like, no, I don't need medication, I don't need to talk to somebody, I'm a strong woman, I'm this, that, and the other. But actually that was a bit of an act and a bit of a front, and as soon as
something that's also really common. I mean,
massively,
the first time somebody ever told me I was depressed, I was like,
no, I'm not.
Like, you're a nutter. Like, no way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so.
But isn't there massive? I think there's even more strength than faking it. There's even more strength in vulnerability and in actually going.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I wasn't okay, and I'm not okay.
Absolutely.
And I need to accept help. And I was at the lowest point. Do you know what I mean? I was basically told it's hospital or the police station after what happened. So, I was kind of against my will, I suppose, initially put in the hospital, and that's when really the penny dropped. I saw my mum when she first came to visit. I saw how it had affected my family. I basically just thought, well, I've been at my lowest now, I'm just going to commit to the recovery, whatever that looks like, however messy that gets. I'm just going to commit to, like, basically nothing can be worse than now. Do you know what I mean? And I'm now just going to commit to a process, and it's been, well, nearly oh my God, I really have lost this year. So in March, it'll have been 2 years since I was out of the hospital, and I've just been with my head down in this process of growing this thing, which is just, it's like my baby. Like, it's really what helped me out of a dark place, and I don't know what the future holds for it, but it's been an interesting journey to be on.
I think it's important for people to have a focus when they're in that sort of, because you can just get swallowed up by what's going on. So having like something to really focus yourself on and just get your teeth into, and sort of, it's almost like a good distraction, I suppose.
Massively. And there was no pressure from anyone. It wasn't a task by anyone else. I had full autonomy over it, which was really it really liberating. It was like, oh my God, each morning, no matter, I'm still in the clothes. For about 3 days, I remained in the clothes that I tried to commit suicide in. I wouldn't change or whatever. I was absolutely done. I would just at least set an alarm and go to the communal area, open my laptop, get a coffee, and then I would think, right, let's get to work. And it wasn't for anyone or anything. It was more of a personal thing, like, let's create something, let's do this, let's be productive, let's make something.
I think when I write, it's oftentimes about like ordering my thoughts.
Massively.
So it's like, because I have the blog that runs alongside this, and I'm very much in the 10 people reading it at any given time stage that you talked about in the early stages. But I find that when I'm writing something down, I'll go, I've had this exact conversation with Shieldsy in a completely different order, or I've had this conversation with the missus, and it's all come together after a different order of things. So I think when you're in that sort of vulnerable place, having that ability to just take the time to order your thoughts in the right way and then put it down somewhere that you can go back to is huge.
Oh, massively, because you don't know what you're thinking until you kind of write it or read it back, do you? Because like you say, it's all scattered, and I might have told that person might have told that person that, that. But I was diagnosed with borderline personality disorder. And as a diagnosis, that just made so much sense to me. Throughout my marriage, I look at my behaviour patterns and things like that.
Yeah.
And I'm almost textbook that diagnosis. And I know not everyone agrees with diagnoses, particularly the kind of different names that aren't your typical depression, anxiety. People think it's a bit of a
overdiagnosed.
Yeah, people think
we overdiagnose people.
Yeah, exactly. But I actually, really don't agree. I agree that my medication has helped me become more balanced. Therapy has helped me become more I respond in a more appropriate way to certain situations. And so I look back at my marriage, and what I can learn from that in terms of romantic relationships is that for many years he pleaded with me to get help. You are struggling, go and get help. And I think that in the future I would like to be less against asking for help. Do you know what I mean? The simple thing. It's not a weakness, do you know?
The
I think
stigma
that's the first lesson you learn, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. I think that if you come out the other side of anything, you realise that there's probably a year or two where you could have done it earlier, or you've maybe been just bullshitting yourself into thinking that everything's all right.
Do you know what, massively? And actually, if I've learned anything this past year and a half, it is not to bullshit yourself. I was the biggest bullshitter to myself for so long, going, no, you know, just the lines I would feed myself, or the narrative that was going on in my head, you know, this superiority complex, probably, thinking, you know, I'm better than help, I'm better than that, you know, I do this, I'm a fitness muscle. I don't know, I just look back and I just think, bullshit. Do you know what I mean? So, and it's nice now to feel that, and don't get me wrong, I think that there's a constant battle in all of us between authenticity and our ego all the time. It's just this constant like thing, and they're like one kind of trying to control the other. But I am at a point now where I can say that I am at least I'm happy with how authentic I am. We're all going to have a trouble with our ego, and it is a battle. But like, authenticity is massively important to me now, because it's what my community, my platform ultimately is was born from, you know what I mean? And it's what people need and what people appreciate. And I'm actually so blind now to all the shit on the internet sometimes, because I'm so immersed in the good stuff. Like, I've curated a really kind, nice space online, so that when people are saying, oh, there's so much of this stuff, people editing their pictures, people promoting this, I'm kind of don't see it until I've sent it, and then I know what's going on. But you can create your own space on the internet.
No, definitely.
Do you think that potentially, like, oversharing on these platforms is a sign that somebody's maybe, I don't know if you would say, maybe masking something, maybe trying to hide something? Because there's a lot of people where they just, like, it would almost seem like their world is just shopping trip to coffee with their mate, and there's no work, there's none of, like, how do you make money? Like, where does
We've
that
had
come
that conversation about people we know. We're like, what is it
what is it that they do? You don't actually really know
Probably
somebody.
That's my answer.
You could probably tell somebody's coffee and lunch order and not know what they do for a job.
I know.
And there's supposed to be somebody that you know. So I think maybe potentially I've so many people that just spring to mind where it's just constantly posting, and not for somebody that's got a platform and they're maybe trying to promote anything. They're not promoting anything. All that they're doing is just posting.
Maybe they're promoting themselves to themselves.
I think it's an identity thing and a validation thing. I think it is. It's like you know, if I promote this and I do this, it's like, it's not for a brand. It's just for that. I do have a life. I do have stuff going on. You know, it's validation, and I used to seek it myself. Do you know what I mean? I've got memories of me, like when I stayed with my husband, the house would be a complete mess, but I'd kick everything out the way of the mirror to take a perfect selfie. And you just look back and you think, oh my God, and people say, oh, your house is lovely, and I think it is within the parameters of that shot. Like, I know that I've just kicked a pile of clothes there, posed for a selfie, and that's it, and that's what the world sees. But and that's the perfect example of how what you see is in this screen, but everything else
I think that's a beautiful analogy for your mind as well. The bit that people hear and see is just this tiny wee window, and then but inside there's just this massive landscape of stuff that you judge yourself for and you don't like.
People's opinions in there.
I found it this year when I kind of like came out about the drinking, and obviously had been like through it, but I lost last year. In kind of similar terms to how
alcohol.
Talking, more or less, but when I came out the other side of it and started talking about it, I was talking to people going, there's no way these people do not know that this is what's been going on. Like, I've been such a shambles within myself. And then being like, I did, and people were like, no, like what? You know what I mean? And I think that's what you're talking about. Well, somehow, somewhere, I've had a defence mechanism that's allowed to, like, you know, hide it long enough that people were surprised, even though I thought, how can you possibly be surprised by this?
I think what you were saying as well, like 5 minutes ago, when if I look back at myself, I can just pick this one example of when I was going through a tough time in a previous relationship, and I literally get an Uber to Silverburn and put $1,000 on a credit card. And if somebody had stopped me on my way home and this pure, oh my God, I get like 4 polo shirts, a leather jacket, jeans, I feel so good, and went, you've got a problem, I would have been like, fuck off. You kidding on? I feel fucking great. But you just, when I look back now, I'm just like, you know what I mean? Like face palming, just like, how did you not know that?
You still get stuff in cellophane in there?
Exactly. I'm still working through clothes for like 2-3 years ago that I've just never wore.
It is your own bullshit, and I actually used to do a lot of it like aesthetically as well. So like when I look at maybe the weeks just leading up to the kind of suicide attempt. I had like 26-inch hair extensions. I had loads of fillers in my lips. I had Botox. I had, lash extensions, anything you could imagine, like sort of false that I could do to myself. And while I'm not saying there's a problem with any of that, I still do bits and bobs of it.
Of course.
While I'm not saying there's a problem with any of that, I do see how it was literally a physical mask. So there was this kind of mask you couldn't see, but there was also all this extra stuff. There was the bodybuilding as well, so I was still in incredible shape. But, and as far as the world was concerned, if I just said to my family, you must have saw the downfall, they'd be like, well, no, because you looked great. You were posting pictures on social media with maybe inside. I could look at a picture now and say, I felt horrendous there.
Yeah.
But the picture says, feeling amazing, great training sesh.
Yeah.
So you're literally feeding these lies, and you probably start to believe the lie to an extent. It's a bit meta. Like, do you know what
absolutely.
I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And the only story that you really truly believe is the one that you tell yourself.
Massively.
Because without that validation and without that acknowledgement, then you don't believe it. But you were a female bodybuilder at one point in time, and I think that diet and exercise is probably the most overprescribed, like, sort of wellness tool. You always hear, and I go to the gym and I do a lot, and I keep my diet in check. So I'm a prescriber to that.
Yeah.
But also, I think that sometimes you can take it too far. And do you think that because that happened? So if you were to say to somebody, there's somebody that's suicidal and their mental health isn't good, but they go to the gym religiously and their diet is like impeccable, they would be like, that contradicts itself. You should that should be the fix. Did you experience like a negative sort of body image, or was that part of like why you were like bodybuilding? And
bodybuilding was just a focus to distract from the shit that was going on in my head. If I had to weigh out every kilo of food and had to make the gym every day and had to do X, Y, and Z, it wasn't even about the way I looked aesthetically. Yes, I was going to compete that year, 2018. I was going to compete. But it was at that point, it was just about having that control over at least one aspect of my life. But then I've got a history of eating disorders and whatever, and I think that was just a label for an eating disorder, really. I'm not saying bodybuilding is, I'm saying that sometimes it can just be a label for another control problem or, an addictive personality.
The compulsive behaviour that sometimes comes along with the up and down.
I think the fact that
poor mental health.
Something about bodybuilding, I mean, I look at pictures of the guys and girls and the women that are doing it, right, and you're like, fuck man, that's impressive, but there is something in it that's harmful,
massively,
because it's unsustainable. You can only look like that for like 2 or 3 days, and then you need, just purely out a need for nutrition, you need to get some, which is almost like, what, it's almost sort of strange, like, why would you do that to yourself? Like, what? And I've lived in a single digit body fat and felt, and for me, when I look back at my own time like that, I felt like that was going to be it. That when I get my six pack, that was it. I'm going to love myself. I'm going to look at myself and I'm going to go, Paul, look at you, you're amazing. But I still looked at myself in the mirror and thought, I can get better. I can get a wee bit better. And see, when I didn't, it was so disheartening that I fell off the wagon and just rolled. And
I think that's the absolute thing, and I think that's why I always say on the project that when you just get that handbag, when you just get those abs, when you just get that, happiness isn't waiting for you there like some sort of pot of fucking gold. Do you know what I mean?
Waving flags like,
we made it. You're and I've experienced that a lot through this past year, so or the few years. When I got abs, I thought when I just make that day, like I couldn't see past that day of my first competition because I was like, whatever. Even though my relationship was going tits up, I wasn't performing great at work, like I had no sex drive, there was loads of things in my life that weren't going well, but I was like, but just April for abs, and then everything will come good. And it didn't. I got a wee plastic trophy, and then I felt like, oh fuck, I fucked up so many aspects of my life. But for some people, chasing that is fine, and if some people, fitness is their career, I understand that having a certain look benefits their business, and that's different.
I said that to somebody a couple of weeks ago when I was talking about this, and I said to them, look, see if you're a professional, I get it. See if you're a personal trainer and you're out there and you're trying to get clients, I get it, I totally get it. But see if you are like working 30, 40, 50 hours a week.
Aye.
And then
No.
you're trying to get it's
I was
almost
failing
like
in work, you
a
know, and
destructive. It feels almost sort of like counterproductive to you. Do you know what I mean? As a person,
And then nobody, you know, it might be your priority, but of course, no one else sees it as a priority. You know, so your boss at work, when you're coming in shattered and you've been training and
Yeah.
you've got a competition coming up, you know, does
Don't
that
give
pay
a
your
fuck.
bills? You know,
Yeah.
don't give a fuck. And so those are really hard conversations to have. And similarly, and my ex-husband won't mind me talking about this, he, you know, would want our relationship was really built on like going out with other couples and having dinner and wine. And suddenly when that aspect of your relationship just isn't there because you selfishly want to pursue something, it becomes difficult
And
and
the
not
dynamic
sustainable,
changes,
you know,
aye.
and everything changes. So yeah.
so we fast forward, and you're just now, like you're a massive gym advocate.
Yes.
So what is the difference between the bodybuilding and what would probably be seen more as sort of like fitness? Because like bodybuilders aren't fit.
No,
You know what I mean? They
no.
can't run the fucking length of themselves.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not.
I think people think that a bodybuilder's going to like crush your skull in a fight,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah,
like, nah,
no,
it's not going to happen.
It's
But
all aesthetics.
what's the difference? Like, what do you see your motivation now when you go to the gym versus what it used to be like back then?
So it's hard to explain. At the moment, I think I'm seeking to not have any sort of restriction in my life. So if I don't have a plan to follow, like a nutrition plan, I tend to just not feed myself, or I'll just drink wine, or I just won't prioritise my health from a nutrition point of view. But if I have a plan to follow, that the word diet doesn't really fit. If I have a plan of certain foods
Yeah.
to follow, I'll go out to the shop, I'll buy some good food, and I will actually cook and eat and make that a priority.
Yeah.
So for me, it's a really positive thing, because we could all do to feed our bodies a little bit better with more food groups, with this and that and the other. Do you know what I mean? And if it was just down to me not having a coach or having that input in my life, I would just wouldn't prioritize eating, or I would just drink wine instead of water, or do you know what I mean? I just wouldn't make good choices.
Jesus did
For
that.
me, I know, right? Come
So it
on.
must be all right for us to do it. Like.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, excuse me, I've got quite an addictive personality. So if I wasn't in the gym and, you know, trying to focus on feeding my body good food, I might just end up drinking every day. And I also
Yeah.
know that's not great for my mental
You
health.
need goals.
And I need little goals, even if it's daily goals at the moment. You know, like I say, I've got a bit of input from a team helping me at the moment, and it's just like little goals each day. Like tomorrow I want to get X, Y, and Z done. And last
Yeah.
night I sat and planned out today, and it felt great because I've
Yeah.
not got loads of places to be. However, if those are on a bit of paper, it makes you feel like I've got stuff to achieve tomorrow.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And I can go to sleep at night feeling great. So, but like yourself, you're saying if you're not, I'm not like working at the moment. So if I don't have a full day planned out, it's like you can lose purpose a lot, and it becomes really difficult. And obviously it gets boring very quickly just watching the odd bit of daytime
I was
telly.
watching Ancient Aliens yesterday. Like, that's shit, you know,
You've peaked. You need to
watched-
just keep podcasting now.
First day of unemployment, and I was sitting watching shit about like crop
Sorry, I've been in an
circles in the
existential
Bermuda
crisis
Triangle,
since
like,
March. You're fine. It's fine. But yeah, there's no alien YouTube video I haven't watched.
I think goal setting's really, really fucking important.
Oh,
Like,
massively. And I think it can be anything. And actually, when I first got out of hospital, I'd been a wee bit institutionalised. So I'd been in there for over a month of like being told when I was eating my breakfast,
Yeah.
walk to the art room, do a bit of colouring in. Like I'd been really institutionalised. So when I got back to my own house, it was like, oh, fuck. Like full autonomy over my day. That's whoa. So like, what was good for me was like the mental health professionals sort of saying, see tomorrow if you only get a shower, you got a shower.
Yeah.
Or see the next day if you get a shower and then you want to make a cup of tea. You've done two big things for you, because it's all relative, right?
Absolutely.
So there might be one point in my life like last year where I had like 3 meetings and a protest and a media appearance, and I was just like buzzing.
Yeah.
And I felt like, oh, I'm doing loads, I can take on everything. But this year it's been a tiny wee bit different, where today I get this podcast episode recorded and then maybe I go for a coffee, and that's been like a good day based on how I feel.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because it's all got to be relative to
Kind of
you.
like ties in with a thing that I love Darren Brown, just generally. Like, I think the guy's awesome. But I remember something he said in one of his interviews about like goal setting, and he was like, "This is like a highly accomplished, highly intelligent man who's like, done well in life." And they're going, "So what's the secret?" And he's like, "See, if I get to like dinner time and I don't smell bad, it's a result." And you're like, "What?" You know, I expect him to be like, oh, I should have done this painting, or I should have
Aye,
wrote
5
this
a.m.
part in my new show.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Up at 5, I got up at 5 a.m.
Yeah,
and I
Did
get
a run and all that, and he's like, see if I get up the day and I don't smell by dinner time, I'm jamming. And you're like, that's such a simple, but this guy
Yeah.
accomplishes so much in
But
his
isn't
lifetime.
that
you
so
know what I mean?
interesting? Because
Aye.
actually, from an outside point of view, people say the same to me. People message me, "How do you do this? How do you do that?" and whatever. And I'm the same. I'm like, I'm a riot. Like, I don't know, but it's like I'm the same. Like, I have a wash, or I'll just, and like I say, just writing down those goals. They might not be much to other people, but to you, they might be massive. Do you know what I mean? Like, one of my friends is a mum, and yesterday she said she felt like she never did much because she just did some crafts with a wee one and then got out for a coffee. And I was like, see, to me yesterday that would have been a lot.
Yeah.
So do you know, it's all got to be relative.
I think this is kind of like, I can really vibe with some of what you're saying about that, you know, feeling invincible on the way up, you know, you're medicated, you're feeling better about yourself, you're getting involved, and obviously the Empowered Woman is going to give you opportunities to then, you know, get involved in other things. Like, for me, as this has become a bigger and bigger thing as we went on it, like, I struggle to keep that sort of almost manic side of me in check more than a day, like the depressive side of me, you know what I mean? Like, because I sometimes feel that as much as folk get in touch with us, and like if we could get involved with absolutely everything, you know, we would, but at the same time we're now at the point where we're going, where can we make the most difference or whatever. But like I get quite intense within myself. There's times he's getting like a love and a coke text going, mate, how about we approach this like such and such, and he's like dude, I'm in my bed, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, cool, fair enough, you know what I mean? Like, so I days like when there's a lot in the air,
Yeah.
I kind of get a bit, you know.
It's good to have people to recognise that in you as well, because I fully relate. I'm exactly the same. I get overwhelmed, excited, and Amy, like my partner who works quite closely with me on the project, she'll say things like that. She'll go, how about we do X, Y, and Z, right? And she means 3 months down the line. I'll speak to her
You're
the next
like,
day and say, I
tomorrow.
phoned him, I left a voicemail, and it's done. And she's like, you're a bit frantic, is everything all right? And like, I've already done all the things, and she's like, whoa. But it's nice to have people that keep you in check. And even like last week we had a meeting and she was like, you're a bit... She was like, are you alright?
Aye.
I was like, yeah, you know. So yeah.
Maybe
So-
over caffeinated.
Probably, that's got a lot to do with it.
No, I just mean, so I think what I was trying to get is an argument like for to be a wee bit more selective. Are you at the point now where maybe you're thinking to yourself, where am I best placed here? Because you seem to have like, you know, you're out there a lot. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm always find myself wondering, going, is there one of these things that's like a proper passion for you that you know you think to yourself, do you know what? Maybe this is the one that I take all this other energy and like focus it into one thing.
Yeah, so I think the one thing I've learnt, so I studied musical theatre when I left school. I'm a singer, I've trained as a singer, I'm a dancer, I do all
Right.
that sort of stuff. And I kind of put that to one side when I got married, and I didn't prioritise it and whatever. So I love performing and I love being in front of the camera, and I think that through the project I've been able to create a lot of content, you know, video content, recording, audio content, whatever, and I've really enjoyed it, and from that has come a lot of great opportunities. I now work with BBC The Social creating content, which is a great opportunity. They're teaching me a lot, and so I think that long term I would like to create content and get paid for it, which is going to be really nice, because like I say, I did so much for so long for free, and it comes to a point where you're like, if my time's valuable and people value my abilities and my talent, then why shouldn't I be paid for it? But I find that a difficult thing as well to balance.
Definitely.
You know?
I think when you're in a creative as well, you almost like undervalue yourself, don't
Massively,
you? Like, you
massively.
my girlfriend's a ballet teacher and a professional ballet teacher, and even still, she'll be like, I don't know if I should tell them that I'm 40 quid an hour. I think maybe I should just do it for half price. And I'm like, fucking don't do that. Stop doing that. Like,
But I also think there's something to be said for attaching your value to like your... So like when you say, if she halved her price, to me that halves her value in my mind, in my eyes.
Absolutely.
Because I pay more for something that I believe inherently will be better.
That's,
you know
that's
I
a
mean?
weird psychological
Yeah.
thing.
But
Where
in
you
actual
think,
fact that by halving the price she doubles the value, because they're still getting the same 40 quid's worth of lesson.
Yeah, that's
but
true.
in
Yeah.
people's minds, they think, well, she's discounting that because it's not as good as this
As
person that's
so-and-so
charging
that's X,
50
Y, and Z.
and 60, and that's why people that are charging 50 and 60 quid seem to be the top.
Yeah.
And it's just by having
You
the
literally
actual,
put yourself there and having the kind of
the guts
balls
to do it. Aye, man. And
Yeah,
that's-
absolutely.
I think that when you're doing creative stuff, if somebody was to say to us, listen, I mean, I produced a couple of podcasts for a few weeks and I struggled to ask for money
Yeah.
for doing it, even though I had said to the people up
Yeah,
front,
yeah.
I'm 20 quid for a podcast, you can come in and I'll charge you 20 quid and I'll make your podcast for you, it's no bother. When they come in and they did it, was like, right, where's the cash? You know what I mean? I was like sort of waiting for them to hand it over.
Yeah.
And they all did, thankfully. But even
yeah.
still, I was like,
Awkward
I feel
situation.
shit fucking charging for somebody coming down and
I just
recording this,
wish
but-
I could be stripper Mandy in my creative line of work. Like, right, that's 100 quids.
Right.
But you
not a bad
value,
comparison.
like, you know the value of that.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
also, you're working for a club that's telling you, like, no fucking freebies, do you know what I mean? That's like
Yeah.
suicidal in that
Yeah.
industry.
But doing that to yourself can be a really hard, and like I say, it's ego and authenticity again. The minute that I think I charge for something, I do get, I try not to worry what anyone thinks, but you of course you'll get the odd person going, thought you were accessible, thought you were this, thought you were that, and you're like, but I have rent to pay.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
So the social stuff, like, obviously I've seen your bit with Paul.
Yeah.
And I think I seen something the other day with
About catcalling?
yes.
It went out yesterday.
That was that
yeah,
yesterday.
Yeah.
Aye. So what are your ideas, or what have you got in the pipeline? Is there stuff you can talk about?
Yeah, massively. So they've really given me pretty much free rein. So I've got a couple of producers that I work really closely with, and I pitch ideas just pretty much as and when they come to my head, which can
Okay.
be, again, frantic, because you can imagine sometimes I slide into their emails with like loads of ideas a day, and they'll go, right, let's go for this, and then let's make that good, and then let's do it. What's been interesting is just is having some input with my ideas and learning how to create content, which is a wee bit better, and just that kind of process. The next video that I'm doing this week with them is all about the kind of mental breakdown I'm having towards turning 30, basically, and how kind of women deal with that, because we've all got ideas of like where we should have been by certain ages, and for a certain wee while, I suppose I was following in my mind what I thought was right.
Okay.
So when I was 16 and I thought, right, and all girls pretty much do, by the time I'm 21 I'll meet the man of my dreams, then at 22 we'll move in together, 23 engaged, and 24 married. I actually did that in that order, and you look back and think that's the way it'll all be, and it'll all be fine and dandy, and I'll have kids and dogs running around,
It's
and
all
it'll all
mapped
be
out for you. It's all
wholesome.
nice and
It's all
clean.
mapped out,
Yeah.
absolutely. But this sketch is going to just be a look at how funny but tragic my life can be now, based on where I thought it was going. So yeah, it's going to be a funnier, lighter look at basically.
I'm somewhat like that, but I'm happier now outside that cookie cutter life
Aye,
where I
like the
owned a
roadmap.
house and I had the car and it was all in the relationship, but there was an undercurrent of unhappiness that went with it.
Ditto, yeah,
And even,
yeah.
but again, outside looking in, people
Yeah.
would be like, "Oh, I must be doing fantastic."
They've got it all going
Yeah.
on, yeah.
and now
massively.
outside looking in, people might be he's in a flat shell. Like, what's going on
Aye,
there?
like theoretically
At
on paper you've
35,
taken a step
but
back.
I genuinely am so much happier.
Yeah, and I think what we need to remember as well is that happiness looks different to everybody. I'm also so much happier than I was in my marriage. But if you'd have told me that in my marriage, I would have went, no, we're great.
They're all the same as, when I moved out at 19, because I always like to buck against what folk expected me or told me to do, and it was a mistake. And I spent 7 years essentially single, and was like, don't want family, don't want kids, don't want blah blah blah. And as I say, that was like my own roadmap that I'd set out for myself. And then met my partner who had a daughter and was like a dad overnight, and it was like, so again, the flip of what I was like telling people I wanted, what I didn't want, and the minute it came up, you just flip on it. So I can get where you're coming from there.
And it's hard to be okay. It's hard to be enough on your own. And again, I'm still working on that. It's
think
hard
that's the ultimate goal.
The ultimate goal is
That
to
is
be enough.
the ultimate goal is to be in a room by yourself, no technology, nothing, and you can be content.
Massively.
That is like the ultimate goal for me. Is just to not need anything, so that everything else that I get, I'm fucking ultimately
bonus.
grateful for,
Yeah.
and it's just a
Yeah.
bonus for it. And I
Yeah.
don't need it.
Massively.
I don't need these things, because I've went through stages where the idea of giving something up or not having something has gave me anxiety, and then when I've gave it up, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm fine. Oh wow, I'm okay. I'm not dead.
I'm still slightly merry-go-round.
Yeah.
Exactly, but it's just you're talking about that ego just going like, you need that, you can't be without that, you need to be. And I went through a period of time where, and I've kind of stopped it now, where I stripped everything away. Like, it was like caffeine's next, tobacco, that's it, and I got
all the vices,
just everything.
There's a dude that used to like get a train for shuttles on a Saturday morning to like Glasgow Queen Street to get a specific type of coffee and get the train back. Up the road.
If I did,
that's
a
a
day
big
off.
mood.
If I had a day off,
Coffee was dynamite.
and
Really?
I had a 500 quid coffee bean to cup machine in my
So
kitchen
you did. So you did.
that I didn't touch, that I bought, because I just used to just consume and consume and consume. But I would be like, right, I'm going to get up, I'm going to go walk to the train station, up the stairs into Costa, Queen Street, get my coffee, go back down, straight back in the train, back to my house, and sit and have my coffee. And it's like, when I look back at that, I'm like, holy fucking shit. Why did you not realise that you were just that? Right,
I always kind of respected your commitment. That should have probably. This is another one as we go through talking to guests. We get into an old story, and then one of us goes, "That should have probably rang an alarm bell with me." But I actually thought it was really cool at the time.
Yeah.
when I think about it, what was I doing? All I was really doing was I was just filling that hour and a half that I just couldn't stand being doing nothing and sitting, and I would start going, oh, I need to do something here.
Yep.
And it would just be like this sort of series of events that, and the gym was a part of that, and would always just be like, I need to do this and I need to do that. It's just because I couldn't sit and do nothing.
Do you ever think though you don't like take your own advice? So basically, I was thinking about this recently. Like I've been in love with a guy since 2011, right? So that's a long time. And recently he's kind of come back into my life and whatever, but he can't commit for various different reasons, right? I even got a tattoo for him last week, so there you go, right? I'm very in love with this person, but it's toxic, and I know I need to cut it off.
Okay.
And I was kind of thinking about this last night and reminiscing with one of my guy friends who said, you know yourself, if you were giving this advice to another girl, you'd say, cut it off. He's not giving you what you need. He's deliberately not giving you what you want. Cut it off. And it's so weird how sometimes we can be so blinded. Like, I know if I was an outsider looking in, I'd go, that's not good for you.
Absolutely.
Walk away. But having that strength yourself to walk away takes so much commitment.
Yeah.
Like, I've had to, I sent the message, I cut it off last night, but having the commitment to see that through is hard because it's only on you. Like I could easily message that person. I could easily open that can of messy worms again, but it's only going to damage further. But if it was a friend, I'd be on a case going, don't message them, don't message them. It's only going to be bad. But for yourself, it's hard to have that self-respect, I think.
Absolutely. I follow our main advice all the time. I think it's my missus' favourite pastime is throwing main advice back in my face, to be honest with you. Like,
what would you say?
Surprise you pay, you know.
I think like what you're saying, exactly what you're saying there, is you need to try and this is where things like meditation and mindfulness come in, is you need to try and treat yourself like a third party.
Massively.
Because as soon as you get yourself involved, then you're already at a huge disadvantage. You can't be objective if you're in there. And when people are giving advice, like if somebody was to say to me, like I did like a podcast last week on addiction, and they said to me, what's your number one piece of advice to somebody that's struggling with porn? And I was like, I hate to say it, but get up. And it's like, I know that sounds like I'm saying it's dead easy. It isn't. It's the hardest thing that you fucking do in your life. Yeah. But ultimately,
the benefit,
you need to give it up. And like sometimes you need that. You need to be hard on yourself, and when you're having that moment when you go, okay, it's all right because tomorrow I will X, Y, and Z, and I'll get my shit together tomorrow. Sometimes you need to go to yourself like, you're so full of shit.
That brings you down and down and down. That tomorrow makes you feel so. For me, that just pulls me down so much because
you always try to claw it back.
Yeah, and tomorrow never comes. No. Really, and when you're in that mindset, tomorrow never comes. Because you're making excuses. So,
absolutely. So I think that it's hard to take your own advice, but that is the perfect anecdote, or the perfect solution is act like you're giving advice to somebody else. Speak to yourself like you're speaking to somebody else, because ultimately what you're doing is you're lacking compassion, because you know that it's damaging you, and you know that it's toxic, and you know all this, but the reason that you're not following through with that is because you don't think that you're worth it, or you don't feel like, you just think, well,
and you're in it, you can't step outside it, you're in it.
It's really hard to step outside it, and that's where writing, journaling, that's where these things, because when you see the words, you go,
You've
Do you know
stepped
what I mean?
outside, yeah, massively. Or it's good, I'll write the odd, I don't know, a few months ago, thought I was in love with someone, wrote a wee anonymous blog post about it. Then I look back now and I piss myself at it because I'm like, oh my God, that's hilarious. I don't give a shit about that guy.
Okay.
But sometimes it's nice to box that intenseness almost and think, wow, I was so hung up on that. But now that I've had time or I've had time to reflect or hindsight, I look back at it and go, whoa.
It's almost like a form of journaling.
Yeah.
Yeah, really,
Absolutely.
it is. And I think all the project has been a public journal, really. It's,
I mean, I've been in a relationship where I felt unable to leave it. You know what I mean? I thought I'm 9 years in, I can't live without this person. And then you get 6 months down the line, and like you're saying, you look back and you go, if you're not watching the video, Matt just pulled a face but you get 6 months down the line and you realise that, oh my God, and that to me is so empowering for me, because then I know that I can do anything there. Why do I fear anything? Why do, I used to, the be all and end all for me used to be my job. And this was a part of my toxic thinking, was that I can't be without that job, and the fear of losing my job would rack me with just the ultimate anxiety. I would always be sending messages to people, is everything all right? My day off, just constantly thinking about, I wonder how they're getting on, because I'm the boss and the manager, so how they getting on. See now, if somebody was to come to me and be like, you lose your job tomorrow, but I don't give a fuck. And that, I still go in and give everything to that job.
Yes.
But I know I'm going to be okay if I lose that job, and I'll get another. It does not define me,
no.
Just because a good salary and stuff. Yeah. And it's took me years to come to this sort of place where I can actually be like, don't worry about
I'm
that.
I'm kind of there now. As we were saying, I'm recently unemployed. I have massive fond memories of the place. I'm now 6 days for walking out the door, and the difference in just letting it go, as I say, drawing a line under it and moving on has been incredible, without any disrespect to anybody. I absolutely had a great time there. But I'm with you, I think I've learned so much and grown so much as a person in my time there that I don't fear it. I'm not afraid to go out into the world, because I know that what I've done with these guys is going to see me through.
Mm-hmm.
You know
and it's
you
said, it shouldn't define you.
Exactly.
I think that when I was married, I was somebody's wife for a few years.
Yeah.
And I lost a lot of what made me me. And I think that since that relationship ended, it's been a big kind of road of discovery of who that actually is now.
Yeah.
And it's not the same person that I left behind either. It's new and it's evolving. And a lot of it's this, but it should never be attached to one thing at all,
I try and look at a lot of things, and I think that if I've had a similar sort of experience to what you were both saying earlier on about there's this period sort of right at the start, recovery, let's just call it recovery, or waking up or whatever you want to be, where you soar and you're soaring and you're like, I've cracked this. Yeah. Right, I've done it. I've cracked this. I'm
so glad you guys can relate, because I thought it was just me. I look back at last year and think, who is that? She was taking it on. There comes a point
where it just sort of flattens out.
And it plateau that's dangerous.
And that's exactly what I was going to say. The plateau is so dangerous because you feel, and I have felt like I've went back to square one before.
That's
where
definitely
I've woke up in a morning and felt that, wow, where has this? I feel the same way as I did a year ago.
Yeah.
But then there's just. Then you start to get, like you're saying, make small plans and have incremental steps in what you're doing. You're not going to have this
constant growth is impossible.
Especially
at that rate. When I look back at last year, I think everyone around me was going, I think even, those close to me thought, she's got to crash sometime because this is ridiculous. And then you do, and you don't realise you haven't, like you say, you just think, God, I've gone back to where I was, I'm going to end up, I'm
That's
bad.
the first days between, getting onto a medication, going to a therapist or whatever it is, that, as you said, as the ball starts rolling there, I have 3 or 4 days where I'm completely off my face, and then I have 3 weeks where I could probably walk through brick walls, and I've actually learned in time to be right, so the 3 weeks are right off, whereas in the past I would, because I was defining myself with my job, rush back to work after 5 days, rush back to work after 6 days, and be like, I need to keep this moving, I need to keep on the front foot, keep the momentum. And in actual fact, all you're doing is more damage than good, because I look back on some of the conversations I had with much younger managers where I was, for all intents and purposes, manic and off my face on antidepressants, where I was at people's desks and just being like, Jesus fuck, man, that's so destructive, because you get so almost in a sense addicted to the rush up.
You
know what I mean?
are,
That
absolutely.
As it starts to waver, you get a bit, oh fuck, how do I keep this
Yeah.
going?
How do I
You
keep
know what I
this
mean?
going? And
Massively.
it's unsustainable.
And I'd love to see a day when I can come off medication, but for now it's not the right time, and I think that I'll know when it is the right time. I don't know, but I think I will. And
Yeah.
you know, at the moment, I kind of rely on it still, I think.
Yeah.
I'm a big advocate as well. I know that for whatever reason there's some sort of, you know, associated stigma with it, but like there's times where my body chemistry needs to be adjusted, like just straight up and down. Like it's the same as, you know, taking aspirin for a headache. It's the same as, you know, taking painkillers for, you know, an injury or whatever it is. Like, so I don't necessarily buy into it myself. I think if you are comfortable and part of your process is that you require medication, then go to it, man.
So many people that take them that don't openly talk about it. Like, I think it's really brave, like hearing two people being like, I openly am medicated for like mental health issues, because it is, let's say that so many people take them, but not everybody's like, oh, I'm on this for that. And you see that online when somebody's like, I'm taking this, and you just see loads of people like, thank God, so am I.
Yeah,
You're like,
and that's something I've found again with this platform, is just saying, here's how much I take of that, here's how much I take of that. Because I think if you take medication for your hip or you take medication for something physical, well, the medication exists for mental health conditions, and there's a reason for that.
yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I
think that they're overprescribed in America.
Yeah.
And I think that, and it's not things like I think people get this mixed up. They're talking about things like Adderall, which are like for ADHD,
Yeah.
and they're giving it to kids, and then the kids are growing up. And there's loads of YouTube videos where the kids are growing up and getting to 21 and like blaming their parents. Why did you put me on that? I'm now off it. And right, that's fine. But if somebody is psychosis, like manic depressive, like you need it. You need to just to get yourself sort of like gripped back on.
Absolutely.
And then you can maybe go through a process of like trying to like heal or whatever, if it's trauma based or whatever.
If I was going to educate people on it, I would like to think less about whether or no people are taking them, and actually to have the conversation more about people knowing enough about it that they take the right type.
Yeah,
because I think in
massively.
my experience of being medicated, the thing that's always put me off is it's sometimes been a bit trial and error, where I go in and go, here's how I'm feeling, and the GP goes, here, try this, and you're 4 weeks down the line, and you know you've had weeks of up and down emotionally, and it doesn't settle, and then they go, let's try another one, so you need to wean off to ramp up, or else go too deep. And I'd like for us to be able to educate people to the extent where, you know, they actually can get in touch with the right type of medication and get beyond this. Should we or should we not take it? If you need it, take it.
Yeah.
But like, let's give people enough information so that they know what's going to work best for them.
I've had a lot of conversations with people in the project who've had to go through that process, and it sounds
Wild.
very difficult. For me, you know, when I started medication, I was under some of the best psychiatric care. So I really did get, you know, I feel like the medication I was on has really worked, and I'm so lucky, because a lot of people, if they do maybe just go to their GP or whatever, not only has it been really hard to get there in the first place, that they might end up maybe not explaining fully how they feel. Like I was fully exposed, vulnerable. I feel like there was 5 people around me taking notes. Like I was like, you know, there and all. But if you've had to build up the courage to go to the GP and speak to someone who not always is fully receptive of mental health complaints, there's a whole thing there, and then you end up not sharing everything, maybe getting the wrong pills, then you kind of try it, don't try it, and then you feel like, well, I'm not going back again.
Yeah, I'm not going through another 4 weeks.
No, I'm not going through another 4 weeks of that.
Yeah.
So, and again, my partner that works with me on the project, Amy, has been very open about her experience as well, and she just was absolutely more manic. She was like shaking like this on the pills, and I just thought, you know, and again, they're the ones that made me calm. So they just sent her, you know,
I'm saying different strokes.
Different strokes, absolutely, absolutely.
One of the things that I wanted to talk about is this A-game guy that I'd seen something on the BBC Social, and it maybe a year ago.
January.
Was it January this
January,
year?
yeah.
And I had a wee look at the guy's YouTube channel and had a wee look at what was going on. And was just like, this is an absolute fucking disgrace that this guy's cutting about doing this. I mean, for like my point of view, for a guy, it's got to be different to get like a woman's perspective, because I was shocked that the guy was secretly filming women when he was going up and talking to them, which is one thing, right? Which is like, okay, right, what kind of? But then he was secretly filming them as they were like entering flats to have sex with him. There was one video that I was this was the one where I went, I mean, that might be, people might be going, that's bad enough. That this was the one where I was like, right, fuck this dude. Where he videoed the girl saying, I don't want to have sex with you unless you use a condom, and then was videoing her sleeping in his bed and the unused condom sitting next to the bed. And I was just like, fuck this dude. Like, that is just...
It's so dark.
It really, like, I was like, wow. Like,
Aye.
what the fuck? So...
And that's a guy's perspective.
And that's a guy's perspective. Like, so, who is this guy? Like... I mean, I dipped in and dipped straight back out. It was just like, right, fuck this dude.
So I'm assuming this is where your relationship with the guys at the social must have started then.
Yes, it probably is. Yeah, I saw the same video as you. So this, I don't know if you've seen the video yourself.
Yeah.
The kind of expose of this guy. So the YouTube's existed for a few years actually, and
I've seen the guy so much. See, when I seen that video, I went, I know that dude.
I think you like working there.
He's one of these dudes that is always in tune. He get banned from my gym that I go to.
No
He had been
way.
banned from my gym. And the only reason I found that out was because I was saying, I recognised him for being about the gym. He was a loudmouth, he was obnoxious, he was a cunt. And I said to somebody, the manager of the gym, do you remember that guy? And he said that he banned him for harassing women. So I was like, well, yeah,
There you go.
of course he did. Of course that's why you get banned for the gym.
So, I saw the expose and then I did a wee bit of digging like yourself. I ended up on the YouTube, ended up like 10 videos deep thinking I actually felt sick that this was going on in the city that I love and the city that I live in and the city that I want women to feel safe in.
Absolutely.
And a bit like yourself, some of the things I saw were massively triggering. There was a lack of consent from some women. Some women clearly didn't know that they were part of a game. Like, some women were just really blindly falling for this guy and doing whatever they want to do in their private life, but not to be filmed.
I mean, I've got absolutely no judgment at anybody that
absolutely not.
does. I mean,
No, what he's doing
who cares?
is, no,
like,
who cares?
in
But
that
what
sense.
he's doing is very, very dark.
Yeah.
And I don't want women to be harassed on the streets. So basically, when this video came out, and the reason it all came out was because a woman who shared a lift to uni from Glasgow to Dundee every day with this guy, or Fife to Dundee, somewhere, she shared a lift. She basically phoned into the radio and did an anonymous tip-off.
Okay.
So she didn't reveal her identity, but she says, I know what this guy's doing. I found his YouTube channel. He was actually, which is more troubling, he was studying like sociology and psychology, and referred to himself online as a social scientist. So there was so many layers to what he was doing. He's not a dumb guy. He's
a smart guy. Absolutely.
And that's what made it more scary. So anyway, when that expose happened, I felt like I need to do something. I've got a big platform here that's meant to be for women and about women. So I'd like to show solidarity to women who've come into contact with this guy.
Okay.
And so we set up a protest where we basically said Addy's got nae game. And we held up signs and we had like MSPs come along to share their thoughts. We had we had one woman read a poem about the time that she was sexually assaulted very bravely. It was such a massive response to this guy.
I remember it.
And there were a lot of women came along as well who maybe have encountered this guy and who have reported him to the police but didn't want to be standing with a placard, you know what I mean? So they were just there in solidarity. So that was a massive day, and kind of the investigations were ongoing at this point. So we kind of took a step back, and it's hard for you can't really comment on an ongoing, I suppose, court case, but he was accused of, I think, 18 different offences and was found guilty of 5 of them last week in court.
Yeah.
So what was it he was actually found guilty of? I mean, I've seen that
I'm not sure.
He was found guilty of
but-
sexual harassment,
Right,
as far
so
as I
harassing
believe. Yeah,
people.
harassing people.
Okay.
And that's clearly what he's done. But the problem is it's not ended there. So, there's a new Instagram page to watch out for called Red Pill Rights.
Yeah, so I was saying to my
The blog.
earlier
He's going
on
under a new guise.
that this is definitely him, because it's
It is
popped
him,
up
yeah.
roundabout, and there's a Twitter feed and it's around Red Pill, which is...
So then this guy's just been convicted of sexual harassment and is now blogging about sexually harassing women.
He's blogging about the fact that he's been racially targeted. He says that he's being attacked as a man by other people. Everyone else, this guy's a narcissist, and he's dangerous. And the problem is he's now saying that everyone's against him. So it's so-and-so journalist.
Because he's a prick.
There we are. There we are.
It's like maybe everybody is against you because you're a fucking arsehole.
Absolutely.
And like the justification that he gave for being able to do it. I mean, I'm just a guy just trying to help other men, and like this A game
Well, that's
thing.
another thing.
That-
he was profiting off
yeah,
of showing other guys
he
how
was
to do
selling
what
his
he
book.
did. Yeah.
Like
yeah.
I was an absolute ballhead away
Such an
from
altruist.
buying the PDF just to read it. Just to read it, I was like, this guy's selling a fucking book, right? But
Yeah.
what I found even more disturbing
that's
is that
proceeds
he's
of crime.
not the only guy that's doing this. That there is a guy in Paris,
aye,
there's
Yeah.
a guy in New York, and basically what they're doing is they're saying that we'll teach you the A game and we'll teach you how to talk
get
to women
women,
and
yeah.
how to get women. Which, right, okay, whatever. If you're teaching guys, like we did a podcast with a
would say
girl
there's a-
called Ieva, and she wrote a book about how to be single, and it was basically like she was saying to men, stop sending dick pics. This is how to set up your Tinder profile.
Right, so I could write that book.
I can imagine a woman being out there being empowered might get like attract the dick pic,
Aye.
but
Just get like a pure auto filter on your folders.
this woman wrote a book and does a lot of online stuff to try and help men not be the stereotypical, like, you don't need
Yeah.
to do this, like women don't want this, and that is a really sort of healthy way of helping men.
Absolutely.
What this guy's doing is because part of the advice he's giving to people is just harass them.
Aye.
You know what I mean? It's like, just speak to as
Don't give
many
up, treat it
women
like
as
a
I
game.
treat.
Yeah,
It's like a
numbers,
game.
yeah.
And he says in one of his YouTube videos, like, it's not about having sex with women. I'm more about them saying yes to me.
It's about the chase.
It's about the chase.
And more worryingly, again, there's lots of different legs of this across the world, and there's people who travel the world doing these seminars
Yeah.
and conferences and whatever.
So one of the guys I watched linked to his YouTube video, his advice was get out of your city because your accent will attract women. So he's going he's for Paris, I think, and he's coming to London to do that. He gets the Eurostar over to London every weekend to stand and chat up women in like Leicester Square and stuff.
the
And you're
group-
like, what the fuck, dude? Like, fucking hell.
Yeah, and the group in Scotland, the group of them is called DWLF, which stands for Dicks Will Live Forever.
Okay, well,
So
they're,
this is
they're
like-
certainly living up to the dick part.
Aye, absolutely.
I know. So, I'm just glad that, well, it's been hard for me because I've had to be a bit of a support to a lot of the women who had to report Addy and kind of encourage them to go through that process.
Aye.
While he's still blogging about them and how they're liars and everything. And that's been really difficult because I've become friendly with some of these women
course.
now. And I believe every word they say. I
Well,
don't
if you look,
doubt
at,
it,
if you look
know?
at his videos, I don't think I read anything about the guy that wasn't backed up by a fucking YouTube video.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
if anybody's saying, I actually, with a female acquaintance, when I seen the video, I had said to her, like, look at this, and she was like, that guy who ran over like Shawlands, Paul Shaw's Road, ran over a main road through traffic to get to me, and when I told him that I wasn't interested, he called me a lesbian, and like then walked up the road, giving her abuse, walking up the road, because she was like, I'm not interested in you, pal. Then added her on Instagram and continued to gear that abuse online.
Wow.
And then the next day was like, oh, so do you want to go for a drink? So
Wow.
part of it is breaking somebody down, I think. Like,
Yeah,
although I
yeah.
didn't see any of this in his content, his video, through putting the two and two together, which she's telling me, and like seeing the guy actually in the gym and how much a loudmouth that he is and how much he throws his weight about.
Right.
So he's like probably like 5 foot the height of shite, the guy, right? But he throws himself about. So
Yeah.
like one example, what I mean by that is that I was in the gym and I was doing something and he was just like, all right, big man. And I was like, fuck off, mate. Like, didn't tell me fuck
Aye.
off, but like, okay, mate, he throwing his weight about, like,
Aye.
going up
Making
to people,
his
trying to
presence known.
exactly,
Yeah.
try to talk to people and just making his presence known is a good
Yeah,
way of putting it.
yeah.
But for what she told me, I'm like, right, part of this is breaking somebody down,
Mm-hmm.
like just badgering them until they say yes. Now that is just the pure, like the I know that Family Guy made fun of it, but like 5 no's and a yes is still a yes, like the whole
Right.
Sean Connery James
Aye.
Bond thing. Well, we're looking now for a 2019 perspective and looking at these situations and going, that's rape,
It's rape
that's
culture,
sexual
yeah,
assault,
yeah,
and
it
it's
is.
rape culture,
It is,
and
yeah.
that guy is absolutely part of that. And I don't understand why a guy like that hasn't went, I need to reflect on what's happened here. I've been convicted. Instead, he's doubling down
Aye.
and he's creating this like sort of free speech, men's rights, red pill
And
stuff.
unfortunately, he's got a girlfriend that stands by his side with it all. So it is difficult, and you're never going to get beyond an ego of someone like that. I really hope that we can continue to it's going to take a long time. But it's difficult for me as well, because I've put my face and name to everything that's against him.
He's wrote about you as well, hasn't he?
And he's wrote about me a lot. Yeah,
Right.
he's wrote a few pretty horrible blog posts. And again, it's difficult because I'm just me and my wee blog. You know, the journalists that he's wrote about have told me that they've gotten legal teams involved and whatnot,
Yeah.
so they can actually take action. But for me, I'm just Mandy in Glasgow, and I run a wee blog. Like, it's hard because, you know, and again, live on my own and whatnot, so it can be a bit worrying, but
intimidating for you.
yeah, but Police Scotland have been amazing, and I know that you know, they didn't even have to ask me in January if there'd be a counter protest. You'd be
Yeah.
like, what, rapists? No.
No.
Do you know what I mean? So it was literally, they were so on board with what we were doing.
Absolutely.
I just think there's so many layers to this. I could talk about it forever. The fact he's saying that people are racially attacking him now is just a whole other thing. He
Well,
could look however he wants. It's
yeah.
not about
That's
that.
That's
It's
it. Absolutely.
It's crazy.
The other guys that doing it aren't Asian. They're not. It's got
No.
nothing to do with the colour of the guy's
No.
skin. Like,
It's
nobody
attitude, it's
cares.
behaviour, nobody cares,
It's
no.
about his behaviour,
Yeah.
and I think that hilariously, if you go to the Red Pill blog, Twitter feeds get like 40 followers. The Instagrams get so. The guy's
I would say
the guy's a
alternatively,
joke.
don't go to the blog.
Well,
use
don't
Twitter.
like, don't
Yeah.
go to the Twitter feed.
I linked
but-
it, actually. I linked it on my project page, and everyone was like, "Stop giving him hits," and I was like, "Oh yeah, shit, delete."
I found that I found
Don't
that
feed the
really
troll.
I know.
kind of disgusting that the guy was going out and basically saying that this was like a feminist thing and that this was
I don't see how-
anti-men, and it's
Aye.
like, no, but listen, dude, like, you have harassed and assaulted women, boasted about it on YouTube,
And
Yeah.
then provided
made a
video
platform
evidence.
and making money for it, and now you want to make the fact that you work in a legal team that rehouse homeless people as some sort of like, oh, he's a nice guy. Like, you might well be doing that in your work. I'm not going to dispute that because I don't know, and I'll just assume that that's true, that you help rehouse homeless people as part of your job. But you're also a massive prick.
Yeah.
Like, just because you do that for work, that doesn't make you
No.
a saint.
Aye, the
Like,
balance, the
BBC
scales
did-
aren't equal on that one.
exactly.
And BBC The Social did a kind of conclusion video last week, which went out last week, which the project was featured on.
Yep.
And none of the victims wanted to speak on, for, you know, obvious
Yeah.
reasons. Because they're protecting their identities, but so that went out, and that was kind of a conclusion to, actually, he was charged of this, he was done, you know, and so many sort of local people got involved as well during the time of when we had the protest. There was a guy with a phone shop on Sauchiehall Street who said, "Listen, my shop's a safe space if any woman feels they've been harassed by this guy or
Yeah.
by his
Yeah.
team or whatever." So lots of local people got involved to say, you know, we won't stand for it either on our streets. Do you know what I mean? The worrying thing is, for me, is I think I've actually been approached by one of these guys before, but if you're one woman and you don't know about this community online, you do assume it's to you. You feel a
Yeah.
wee bit special in the moment. Like, it sounds daft, but when I thought about that time a guy pursued me down Buchanan Street, he was quite pushy, but I thought, well, that's quite bold. Like,
Yeah.
you almost think I quite like that. It's weird.
My girlfriend got it a couple of weeks ago, where the guy followed her into a shop and was like, I really like your hair and I really like your style. And she was just like, I've got a boyfriend, and he just turned around and walked away. And I did say to her, that'll be just some guy just maybe even practicing this fucking A-game stuff, just like it was just at the front of my mind. But it might have just been genuinely a guy coming up to you and just being like, I really like your style. Can I have your number? Which is totally fine. But as a red-blooded male, if I was sitting in the middle of Sauchiehall Street and single, and a woman came up to me and was like, and of age, and I was semi-attracted to her, and she was like, I think you're really cool, do you want to come for it? I'd be like, fucking brilliant. I feel wow. Like,
Yeah.
that doesn't happen to you every day, and I
Yeah.
feel fucking great about that. So I can absolutely know the victims there,
Yeah.
because when you look at the guy, he's practiced, he's rehearsed, he knows the triggers. Like, it's like the sort of go back Darren
Yeah.
Brown, where he's like, there's certain things that you can say to people
Massively.
that literally just
And I don't. And when this happened to me in Buchanan Street, I was actually married at the time, and I was running around. I worked at the Daily Record at the time. I was running around in stilettos, whatever. Had my wedding ring on, my engagement ring, and the guy was quite. You know, he almost like dismissed the fact I was married, and it sounds strange, but again, it's that boldness and audacity of a guy. You think, God, he's really into this, and you get a wee rush of like,
Yeah.
no, I'm married kind of thing, but you get a wee rush of like, wow, I really must have stood out.
And this is the thing, it's going to be a numbers game as well, because
Yeah.
for the 1,000 people that they try that way, if 3 or 4 of them bite down on it,
That's it.
so to speak, like, that's, you know, probably a pretty decent result for them, you know what I
Exactly,
mean? Like,
exactly.
The notion of like going up to a woman in the street and being like, poor hi, how's it going? Like, why gives your number is just a completely alien concept to me.
Yeah,
Like, and I
yeah.
don't see why, because it's such an alien concept to me, I don't see why it wouldn't just instantly trigger somebody else, but at the same time, in the terms you're talking about it, where you know, somebody's come up and been
You
flirtatious
feel
or whatever
special
it is.
because you don't
But
know he's
easy
done
to
it.
buy
You
in.
don't know he's done it to 10 before and 10 after. So as far
Yeah.
as you're concerned, he's just went, I've watched you walk all the way down there.
Yeah,
You look
I would
amazing.
never do this. I've never done this before. I'm so nervous.
Yes, ditto. That's exactly what this guy
That-
said to me.
it's-
He
it's
said, "I
like the
never do
game.
this sort of thing,
Aye.
but you look amazing. I had to make I had to make an exception for you.
Yeah.
You do. It's that reinforcement. The words. I remember this guy saying to me feeling like, oh my god, like husband hasn't made me feel like this for a while. It's nice. Like
There's a bit in one of the videos where he talks about that, where he's basically like
Reinforcing stuff.
If you notice that one of the if it's a group, I'm sure this is one of the bits of advice. If you notice that one of them's slightly shyer, focus on her. So he's literally like preying on people.
Yep.
It's like you're preying, and it's teaching guys to be predators at the end of the day.
You sense
literally.
weakness.
Yeah.
attack.
Exactly.
It's horrendous. So yeah, could talk about him all day. Prick. Irrelevant. But but you know, it's important that we know the awareness is there now.
Absolutely.
That people are up to this.
I think
sort of
it's really
thing.
important that part of the reason why when we were talking about doing the podcast and I'd seen that was coming up and you mentioned it, and I was like, I remember speaking about that, looking at that with that guy.
Did you invite him on? Let's have him to talk about red pill rights and see what the hell he has to say. No, I'm joking. He wouldn't. That's the thing. He wouldn't.
No way.
wouldn't.
Yeah.
He wouldn't have the audacity.
But one of the reasons why I wanted to bring it up was because I don't want that red pill fucking nonsense getting traction.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of guys out there that do believe that
Plays on a sense of isolation that's already there.
and it's already there, exactly, and they buy into it, and they buy into
Massively,
like,
especially now that things like the Empowered Women Project and other projects that are similar are really gaining lots of traction. I think that he's thought, there's going to be men out there who are not liking this rise of that stuff, and they want their part, you know. And
I think
it's,
it's an opportunity as well to kind of maybe bring the conversation full circle as we kind of start to wind up, is that like it also provides them with a sense of community. And that's what as we started out, you know, whether it be a physical community, online community, as that we're trying to build ourselves, like this has been actually these men who subscribe to these groups, whether they be in Glasgow or anywhere else in the world as we know they exist, like they're dupes and victims of this as much as women, that's the wrong thing to say, but they're also victims to an extent because
massively.
their stupidity
They're
and
seeking
their isolation has been
acceptance and-
weaponised against them,
Yeah.
their money's been taken off them.
Massively.
And all they're wanting is maybe a bit of community.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
massively.
So I don't think anybody wins when these guys are allowed to prosper.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So what have you got coming up? Have you got anything
So
that you want to pimp?
Is that
out
a
of?
pimp? Well, no, just producing more content with the lovely folk at the social, which is going to be fun because I'm moving into more funny stuff, so that's going to be more lighthearted because I don't mind taking the piss out myself. That and just blogging and just kind of trying to decide where to next for the project. I'd like to create sort of workshops that we can maybe take into school, speak to younger women because we know that they're affected with their phones and social media. But yeah, learning to delegate a bit more as well. I need to get into that. It is my baby, but it's it's getting bigger, so need to be careful for that. And
I like the idea of schools. I think we've done a few pods recently with younger, organisations that care for younger people and stuff like that, and Refugee as well also have engagement with kids at a school level and stuff like that. And I think that taking women's issues to young women,
just
can only be a
reminding
good
them
thing.
that it's okay as well, to say that there's no clear way to take your life. If you'd asked me if I'd be a blogger, I'd be like, no. And then you actually see there's so many ways now, especially for young women and men, to make their way in the world digitally. There's so many options. It doesn't have to be, like you say, that cookie cutter life of going to uni and doing that and doing that's all great, but there's other ways to make your way in the world.
Absolutely.
Well, thanks very much for coming on.
Aye.
Thanks for having me.
That's great.
Lovely conversation, and we'll link all the social and all that into the episode. But
Fantastic.
I made a promise to whom will not to you. So stop the party. I tried to reconcile a life I lived a while. Just stop the party. Feeding lies like you'll never know. a selfish throne. I will march along this path of ambitious, forceful tides. I'll be dead before it crashes down before my eyes. I know we'll make it through smiles and trials of fire. We'll make the party. I see right through it, the great deceptive fade you call a party. Feeding lies like you'll never know. I don't need to be unhappy with a life to call my own. We'll end up burning bridges sat upon a selfish throne. I will march along this path of ambitious, forceful time.